This is the graph paper we usually draw our graphs on. Every unit horizontally as well as vertically is 1 centimeter long. Every centimeter is divided into 10 millimeters by these thin lines. Let's try to draw a graph of the example we had seen previously. Zen used to receive a weekly allowance of 100 rupees per week. To convince his dad to increase his monthly allowance, he presented the following data to his dad. These are the weekly allowances of 5 kids in his neighborhood. To represent this diagrammatically, Zen plans to draw vertical bars for weekly allowances. But the important question that pops up in his head is what scale should he choose on the y-axis? There are a couple of things that affect the scale. First, the range of the data. By range, I mean the difference between the greatest and the smallest value. And second, the number of grid lines. Let us find out the range first. The largest value in this set is 300, which is Carly's weekly allowance. And the smallest value is 100, which is Zen's allowance. The range will be 300 minus 100. The largest value minus the smallest value. It equals 200. Let's say we take 1 centimeter equal to 50 rupees on the y-axis as the scale. It means we will need 4 centimeters to cover this range. Assuming we start the y-axis at 0, we also have to count for the range between 0 and 100. That will be an additional 2 centimeters. It means we will need around 6 grid lines to cover this range of data. Remember, the scale you have to choose should need a maximum of 8 grid lines. A graph paper generally has around 10 grid lines. Anything more than that will not fit into the graph paper. Now that we have chosen the scale, we draw the x and the y-axis. We have the name of the kids on the x-axis and the weekly allowances of each of the kids on the y-axis. We have Asha, Ben, Carly, Dave, Ellen and Zen on the x-axis. As we have chosen a scale of 50 rupees per centimeter on the y-axis, we mark 50, 100, 150 and so on up to 300. This range, as we can see, has covered all the data points and it also fits into a graph perfectly. Asha gets a weekly allowance of 150 rupees. It means we need to draw a bar up to this height. So we draw a bar like this. This bar represents Asha's weekly allowance. To represent Ben's weekly allowance, we draw a bar up to 200. Like this. And we continue to draw bars for other data points as well. And then Zen tells his dad that everybody's weekly allowance is more than what he's given every week. Look at the scale we have chosen. Many times students ask if this is the only possible scale. Well, the answer to that is not necessarily. It was just an estimation. We could also have chosen 1 centimeter as 45 rupees. It would still have covered around 7 to 8 grid lines, which fits perfectly into this graph paper. But the y-axis points would have been 45, 90, 135 and would not look very nice. It would also have become a bit difficult to plot these values as they are not multiples of 45. But if the question is this the best possible scale we could have chosen? The answer to that, I would say, is yes. It is the best possible scale.